We've got some breaking Cincinnati Bengals news this morning. They're signing two quarterbacks to their practice squad after the Joe Burrow injury, Mike White and Sean Clifford. Now, it's actually going to be a homecoming for Sean Clifford. Actually went to St. X here in Cincinnati, so coming back home. But after the Joe Burrow injury, the Bengals are now signing two more quarterbacks to their practice squad, and we'll see what some of those corresponding roster moves are going to be here in the next couple hours, I'm sure, at this point. When breaking news happens, we have got you covered. So make sure you guys get down there and hit that sub button if you haven't already. I'm sure we're going to put a short out for you guys as well once we figure out what some of those other moves are going to be. So get down there, stay up to date on all things Cincinnati Bengals. Hit that sub button for me right now. Now, the Bengals right now still have 16 players signed to their practice squad. Joe Burrow eventually is going to be moved to injured reserve to clear up a spot on that 53-man roster, and they will, certainly sign one of these three quarterbacks now on the Bengals or on their practice squad, anyways, to the active roster. And I got to be honest, I've got some confidence here in Jake Browning, but some of these other guys I'm not too confident in, and I don't think a lot of Bengals fans are really going to be super confident in some of these guys that the Bengals have backing up Jake Browning now. But we are where we are right now. Hopefully, that 3-month window for Joe Burrow's injury can get him back at the end of the season, but my confidence level in that is not very high either. So I want to hear from you guys down at the pinned comment of today's video. Jake Browning is going to be quarterback one for the foreseeable future here. Who's going to be quarterback two? Type BR for Brett Rypien, type MW for Mike White, or type SC for Sean Clifford down at the pinned comment of today's video. All right, so Mike White's career here. He started off in Dallas in 2018, then went to the New York Jets, kind of was on their practice squad, then got signed to the active roster. Played, actually, his first start was against the Bengals that we'll get to here in just a second. Then he went to the Dolphins, looked pretty good in the preseason at times for the Dolphins, and then most recently was on the practice squad for the Buffalo Bills, and now the Bengals are signing him as well to their practice squad. He was drafted back in 2018 to the Dallas Cowboys in the 5th round. And look, it is what it is. Mike White, in that 2022 season, he was able to play a little bit, but that was, the main playing time that Mike White had there with the New York Jets. But, we talked about it a second ago. With the New York Jets, he ended up playing in his first start against the Bengals back in 2021. And, man, he kind of ripped the Bengals apart. This is the only game that Mike White has looked any decent. And, he still had 2 interceptions at the end of the day, for that. Also, you see that him there in the end zone, that was a receiving 2-point conversion catch for him as well. So, he played really well. We'll see if he ends up being the backup guy or if Sean Clifford ends up being the backup guy or if it ends up being Brett Rypien here. But, at the end of the day, Mike White is probably not the worst, option that you could have signed. It's to the practice squad as of right now. We'll see which one of these three guys, ends up getting elevated to that 53-man roster. All right, we'll continue with some more Sean Clifford stuff here and also some trade rumors here in just a second. But today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I use Prize Picks for a ton of different types of sporting events, whether it's professional football, baseball, basketball, college sports, and so much more. Prize Picks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on Prize Picks. This is what we got cooked up for this week's slate of games, going with Tua Tagovailoa, less than on the passing yards front there for him. Doesn't seem like Tua is really the same quarterback he was in the first couple of seasons of his career. Going with Josh Jacobs, more than either a rushing touchdown or a receiving touchdown, only needs one for that one to hit on that front, and then more than Patrick Mahomes passing yards. All he needs is a half passing yards. That is the max discount from Prize Picks. So if you see that Patrick Mahomes half passing yard, make sure you get that into your Prize Picks lineups this week. Prize Picks is super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 different states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the description of today's show. It's also going to be down at the pinned comment of today's show as well. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, let's move on to Sean Clifford here. He was drafted in the 5th round by the Green Bay Packers back in the 2023 NFL draft. He got called up a couple times over the past couple of years, but just ultimately was released by the Packers in August, part of their final roster cuts there. And man, it's been pretty abysmal for Sean Clifford in his career. He has only actually thrown one pass in the NFL, and it was complete for 37 yards, but he does also have a fumble, and he has 3 carries for -2 yards. So not the most confident there in Sean Clifford either, but at the end of the day, right now, it is another body at that quarterback spot for the Cincinnati Bengals. They've got 4 guys there, including Jake Browning now, and it's just a matter of time before we get those, corresponding roster moves for this. But, if it's up to me, I would much rather have Mike White be the guy or Brett Rypien, either one. Brett Rypien's had more time, to kind of learn this Bengals offense. So maybe he is going to end up being the guy at least this first week anyways for the Bengals. But to me, it's probably either between Brett Rypien or Mike White to be that quarterback too. But like I said, quarterback 1 going forward now is going to be Jake Browning. So what is your confidence level in Jake Browning? Scale it for me 1 to 10 down in the comment section of today's show. For me, it's probably like a 6.5 right now. I don't really want to get up there in the 7 range. Just, we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys think. What is your confidence level in Jake Browning? Scale it for me 1 to 10. All right, I also just want to mention this on the back half of today's show as well. There were some trade rumors that were reported yesterday as well. Easton Butler of Packers Report 247 Sports, which I'll be honest, I didn't even know 247 Sports did any kind of NFL coverage, but look where we are here in 2025. These were the names that he ended up reporting on yesterday. Malik Willis, supposedly the Bengals went out there and offered a 6th-round pick for Malik Willis in that 2026 NFL draft, which I don't know. Malik Willis was with the Titans early on in his career, and he looked absolutely awful with them. Maybe he's gotten a little bit better with the Packers, but haven't really seen anything there. Kirk Cousins was also somebody that supposedly it was reported that they looked into trade options. I think that's kind of crazy with the, contract that he has. And, Andy Dalton was another guy that it was reported that they, looked into and called about, which would be kind of hilarious if you ended up bringing back Andy Dalton to this team. But either way, all 3 of those were shut down, by their respected teams here. And like I said, the Kirk Cousins thing just really doesn't make much sense to me. If I'm not mistaken, his contract is pretty much fully guaranteed, and he's not even the starter right now for the Falcons. So that was a terrible signing by them. But supposedly, those were reported as the Bengals went out there and they just inquired about possibly getting some of those guys via a trade. There's some other options here that I wanted to mention via trade, because just because you're signing some of these, quarterbacks to the practice squad, you're probably going to end up calling at least one of them up to your active roster. I still think there's an opportunity that the Bengals could go out there and make a trade for a quarterback as well. Joe Flacco is one for the Browns. We'll see kind of where they're at with some of those rookie quarterbacks on their roster. After we saw what Joe Flacco had in week 1, he missed a lot of wide open receivers, just didn't even throw it to him. I tweeted one out of Cedric Tillman just absolutely burning it straight up the middle of the field, and he didn't even look that way. So I would probably pass on Joe Flacco. Some interesting ones here. Marshall Green of our Giants channel here at Chat Sports actually did a video yesterday about why the Giants should trade Russell Wilson to the Cincinnati Bengals. He's coming off a career day against the Cowboys, had 450 passing yards and just went absolutely ballistic. That might be an option. He's pretty cheap right now. Jameis Winston, I think, would be a pretty fun option as well, especially pairing Jameis Winston with this wide receiver core that the Bengals have. I think that could be really fun, and he does bring a very vibrant, leadership style to whatever team he is on. So that could be a pretty cheap trade option for the Bengals here. Jacoby Brissett, he's kind of had ups and downs so far in his NFL career. He's with the Cardinals right now, backing up for Kyler Murray. And then Cooper Rush, I think, is also another interesting option for you. He played with the Cowboys. He's been the Cowboys' backup quarterback, and now he is with the Baltimore Ravens. I think he is a decent backup quarterback for you. I think he's kind of in that same realm as Jake Browning right now. So if you want to go out there and you want to make a trade for a backup quarterback, maybe even somebody that's kind of in that same tier right now as Jake Browning, I think some of these names could be some more options as well.